Hello everyone, my name is Huafang Li. Today I'm going to talk about the leadership and the governance of nonprofit organizations. So before I start, I want you to think about the following questions. Like, who actually leads a nonprofit organization? The CEO, the president, or the chairperson? Or do you have a board of directors as a nonprofit organization? And who decides the organization's strategies and day-to-day operations? And what happened in reality about board members? Are they really doing their job? Who's monitoring them, making them accountable to whom? Right, so all sorts of questions actually related to the leadership and the governance of a nonprofit organization. So you often heard, okay, we have a board of directors, right? And we want to govern the nonprofit organization better or more effectively in a sense. So what's the main difference between the board and the governors? Are they the same thing? Are we talking about the same thing? Maybe one coin, two faces. But in general, board refers to the organizational structure. Right, you have the board of directors, so this is like structure there. While the governance more refers to the process in which the board governs. Usually, the board of directors, they decide the strategies or they plan strategically for the organization. So then the two parts of duties the board of directors need to consider. So when you were, if you had a chance, you were being asked to serve on a nonprofit board, you also need to realize that you have some legal duties as well as fiduciary responsibilities. Okay, so the legal duties to the nonprofit organization would be you need to be care, loyal, and obedience. Okay, and for the fiduciary responsibilities, so in general, I listed here the appropriate access of fiduciary responsibilities include the following. Okay, so first, adoption of a set of policies to govern the acquisition and the use of financial and other resources within the organization. And second, the establishment on a regular basis, usually annual, of budget that allocates financial resources to programs and activities that will accomplish the organization's mission, vision, and the goals and outcomes. And development and implementation of an ongoing system for monitoring and holding staff and volunteers accountable for their performance with regard to these policies and the budgets. And fourth, development and implement an ongoing system to monitor, assess, and report on the overall fiscal condition and financial performance of the organization. And finally, implementation of an independent external review process, such as an independent audit or a regular base, usually annual, to assess the organization's fiscal condition and health, including the effectiveness of its systems and policies for the protection and the appropriate use of financial resources. All right, so these are all related to the fiduciary responsibilities. Right, so when you serve on board, the organization lead or the organization in general, including other members of the board of directors, they are expecting you bring some sort of resources connections to the organization so that they can do good things better, right? So if you don't have like donations to the organization, or you can't bring financial resources to the organization, but you have like strong connections, might be helpful to the nonprofit organization, it's also okay to sit on the board. It doesn't mean, okay, as a board member of board of directors, you have to bring in financial resources, right? Because for a nonprofit to success, financial resources is only one critical piece, right? So you need other pieces, like routine deeply in the community. You know the situation, right? You know the resources, and that's also critical. Or you are at a higher level, even yourself don't have the financial resources, but you have connections or know the people that have financial resources that can be potentially used to the nonprofit. All right, so the core functions and the officers which build the foundation for the leadership structure of the nonprofit. So these functions include lead the organization, establish policy that will guide the organization, secure essential resources, including human resource, financial resource, and the many other like connection or social capital included, and ensure effective resource use. That's include both internally and externally, right? Internally, you need to build the capacity in the long run. Externally, you want your program run more effectively. And the lead and manage chief executive performance. You need to think about a monitoring system that can actually evaluate your CEO's performance. Engage with constituents, right? Of course, you need to reach out and maybe build strong connections in the long run with the community, and ensure and enable accountability, and also ensure board effectiveness, right? So these are the core function for the board, and for the leadership positions, right? Usually the board officers like include. Now, it should be noticed that here. Different states have different legal requirements for the minimum number of board of directors. Right? For instance, in Pennsylvania, you at least need to have 3 persons to form a board. All right, but usually you can be larger, right? So there's no like optimal number for this, because it has to based on a case by case base, because each organization have different needs, right? And it doesn't really necessarily mean that you need to maximize your board number of your board of directors. Then how to monitor them, how to coordinate them, how to manage them become costly task. It's not easy, especially for a startup, to maintain a very large board, right? So you want some sort of fitable size, right? You don't want a extremely large or like extremely small board. So it has to be based on the situation of your own organization. But in general, for the officers, right, usually you at least need to have a chair, have a secretary, and have a treasurer, right? So then if you expand the board, then of course you can form subcommittees and different task force if you have a really, really large board of directors. All right, so how exactly can we develop a board? Right, it's a long-term and the developmental perspective includes the circle. So we call it the board development cycle. Okay, so the first is you need to define the work, right? You sort of design the board and imagine who you're gonna recruit, and then you select the members and ask them to join the board, and then you build member capacity, right? Build the team, really ensure strategic focus, not just day-to-day operations. That should leave to the managerial level, and the implementation, engage members to do the work. So from like building member capacity to implementation, and this is more like discussing the members should be team workers. All right, so because board usually doesn't meet every day or on a daily basis, right? Because this is strategically, so they use maybe annually they meet. to then decide strategically what kind of things they want to do in the following year. So it's really important to ensure the strategic focus but put all the people together, make sure they have a deep discussion, conversation about this. So that's why you need also to conduct effective meetings instead of people gathering, mingling each other without really focusing on the strategy of the nonprofit organization, right? And of course, it's always a challenge to ensure the accountability of the board, right? We often heard, okay, some board members, they are not responding. That's why possibly you need to set certain term limits for the board members, right? So then board members can be replaced. Okay, so for the CEO, if we are say, okay, this is board-centered CEO, right? So then here's the critical skills a board-centered CEO should have. First, facilitating interaction in board relationships. All right, so you don't want like the board not getting along with the CEO. Sorry about that. And second, showing considerations and respect toward board members. And third, envision change and innovation for the organization with the board. And fourth, providing useful and helpful information to the board. Fifth, initiating and maintaining structure for the board. And finally, promoting board accomplishments and productivity. Now, most of this actually included the communicational skills, right? So, of course, this we are talking about the board-centered CEO skills, right? So there's many like CEO as a leader. You also need to have many like leadership skills, and especially like people or human skills outside the book, right? Just being a human might be very important for a leader. All right, so for the executive leadership, right? So in addition to consider like as a board-centered role, how about your personal benefits, right? Do you consider your personal benefits? How about your pay? Even you are working for a nonprofit organization, does this mean you need to like sacrifice your own financial benefit, or what, right? And what happens if you disagree with the board? And what kind of things can you do as an executive leader? Again, all these things need to be discussed on a case-by-case base. All right, there's no like general rule, one rule fits all. It doesn't really happen in nonprofit organization world. Okay, so I'll end this short video here. I think I actually posed more questions than answers. Okay, but this is a brief introduction about the board and the governance and executive leadership. Okay, so if you want to know more details, I think we need to explore the details about nonprofit leadership in the future.